Monsieur Incroyable.
Je suis Napoleon.
Still my favorite line in that movie. It's bon voyage, Monsieur Incroyable. I don't know why. Just it works. Hello and welcome to episode 866 of the Player One podcast for Tuesday, June 27th, 2023. I am your host, Greg Stewart. With me, as always, is my son playing something on his phone in the background.
Oh my goodness!
But also from the great state of Washington,
that's
Mr. Phil Theobald.
Yo, hey, what's happening, dudes?
How you doing, Phil?
I'm fine.
You're representing the entire state this week.
That's right. CJ can't be arsed to be here.
Yeah, CJ's like, oh, I'm on a plane.
He's back.
Like,
he's back in the Midwest.
They don't have internet there?
I don't know. There's too much exciting stuff happening in the Midwest right now for him to be bothered.
What's exciting in the Midwest?
What's that?
What's exciting about the Midwest?
Indiana Beach.
What?
It's the most sensational, exciting, vacational Indiana Beach.
Is that like a clothing optional kind of beach?
I don't know. I've never been there.
It is when Phil's there.
I mean, but that's most places.
That other voice you're hearing is Ontario's own Benjamin Rivers.
Hello. Thanks for having me back.
Hi,
Ben Rivers from Bansico.
Mm-hmm.
Game developer extraordinaire.
That's what they say, although it's been a while since we released a game, so I'm starting to think my title's going to disappear without me knowing it.
How long has it been since you released a game?
Worse Than Death was 2019. That was our last full release.
Damn! Well, I mean,
what's happened since then?
AAA games take years to make now, so...
That's right. I mean, that's clearly what we're doing.
Yeah.
Just ramped up to like 20 million budget, 100.
Holy cow.
No, I wish.
You know what you should do?
That's just for the front end.
You should announce Final Fantasy 17.
Yeah, that would, know what? Phil's
Boom.
right.
Boom, there it is.
Yeah. I don't know if you knew this or not, but Final Fantasy 16 just came out, so
right.
The iron is hot.
Get ahead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is prime time. Larrabee Locke and Bansico releasing Final Fantasy 17.
Remind me next year to come back to this conversation for a joke that I can't tell you about now. That would be very relevant. Just write that down. Can you put that in your little to-do list?
Put that on the calendar. Yeah.
There's a joke I want to tell you that I can't tell you.
Note to self.
Real funny next year.
Hello, computer. Invite Ben back in a year for an unspecified joke.
Perfect.
There we go.
Unspecified joke is what Nancy calls me when I'm not around.
I've heard her say it to your face.
It's true.
That's Mrs. Unspecified joke to you. Anyway, hey dudes. Hey Ben, thanks for being here and taking up the slack that CJ can't be bothered to take up this week. I don't know how that works.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that phrase works.
Half as tall, but I'm twice as present. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
Let's do that.
Yeah. All right. So news this week. There was some news this week. There was a Nintendo Direct this week.
That's true.
Are we all excited?
Yes.
I was very pleasantly surprised by that Direct. There was a lot of neat stuff in there.
There's a lot of good stuff in that Direct, I have to say. I mean, obviously the star of the show has to be Super Mario Brothers Wonder, which there was a bunch of rumors about that anyway. I don't know though. It looks like, it just looks like new Super Mario Brothers, like on turned up to 11, basically.
Tripping balls.
Yeah, actually, I saw that.
Title.
Yeah, I saw that meme going around. Super Mario Brothers tripping balls. That's great.
I was when there was a rumor of like 2D Mario coming out, I was like, oh, of course, 2D Mario is sort of my favorite iteration of the Mario series. I prefer it over 3D stuff, but I was like, is this the one? Just CJ and I were probably like, is this the one where they're gonna just go whole hog and make this like a Super Mario Brothers 2 follow-up? The one that like 5 of us really want.
It appears to be the one where they gave Mario the good mushrooms.
He touched Fuzzy.
Yeah.
And got dizzy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Nintendo always shows like just enough like these trailers are so good, right? Because they're not like the CG hype trailers. They're not the in-engine trailers where you're not sure what's going on, but it looks neat. It's the one where you kind of see exactly what's going on and it's exciting. But I feel like they always do save something for those marketing beats closer to launch.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering, like, this looked pretty trippy at times. And, they did the little thing with the elephant Mario transformation tease. I'm wondering what they're gonna like, what it is they're gonna hold back to show. What other kind of cool stuff that they're not gonna, they'll wait for like a trios thing to talk about.
I'd love to know what dictates which animals they turn Mario into in each game. Like, how did they come up with elephant? That's
right.
Just like the cat thing. Like, I didn't understand the cat thing when it happened, but
do you think they probably have like an internal review process where they're just like, here's our ideas, and then they go through and run it through like a meme generator to see what unsavory memes could be created from it, and then they're like, we're gonna maybe not choose that one this time around.
Just run it through AI.
I mean, does it make any less sense than Tanuki?
No, not at all. I'm just saying. I just like, and just in general, I'm not saying that was good and all the rest of it's weird. It's always been weird.
Well, yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm curious what.
I mean, Mario's kind of a weird game.
Yeah, what I will say about this, and I don't know how much of it was, what you would consider sort of an in-game cutscene versus just gameplay, but it really seemed like he's emoting a lot more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like a lot more.
That's really cool.
Yeah. They definitely cranked up the animation and the expressions on the characters, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah, I really hope that's actual game. Like, it's how he acts during gameplay and not just like, very specific points.
I mean, the vibe I got from it was that it is definitely in-game stuff. They were just kind of zooming in on that just to kind of really drive that point home. Look, everyone complains about the new Super Mario series looking kind of sterile. But
sure,
here's a bunch of cute little animations that we're packing into the game now. So
that was the part I had the biggest question about, was whether any of those zooms are actually going to be, they're doing like cinematic face zooms in the game at some point. I can see them doing that for certain like controlled environments, but but not really doing like the usual very hectic or challenging Mario gameplay.
And he's got a weird, I don't know, they changed the shape of his body a little bit this time around too, which I'm not sure I'm crazy about yet.
Like, well, someone also pointed out when they showed off the what's the new Sonic game that was announced like last 2 weeks ago?
Superstars.
Sonic Superstars.
That's it. And they brought back sort of
old school Sonic.
Old school Sonic, and I felt like Mario looked more like his rendition in this looked more like some of the original 2D art of him before, as opposed to like the new Super Mario Brothers look.
Yeah.
Although, if you go back and really look at the original 2D art of Mario, it's all over the place. Like, from game to game, he changes his look a lot.
Maybe the power-ups will just have him turn into various licensed versions of himself, like weird cereal Mario or like bizarre underpants product placement Mario. like what Capcom was doing with the Mega Man cover models. Right, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
But so that obviously that was the start. Although I'm going to say, for me, the thing that, not that I'm not excited about Mario Brothers Wonder, I'm super excited. Can't wait to play it, and hope my kids are all interested, because I want to play it with them, because I've created 4 players because I like couch co-op. So that's the only reason they exist. So if they say no, my whole life's a failure. But more exciting to me personally was the Mario RPG remake.
That seems to be a big, like, I'm seeing a lot of traction on that. People seem extremely excited for that.
Oh yeah,
I'm super excited for it. Although, like, and I'll be the first to, I liked the game when it came out, but I was sort of part of the wave of North American gamers who got into RPGs with Dragon Warrior and Final Fantasy. So, by the time Mario RPG came out, I was super excited because he hadn't been in an RPG, and of course Squaresoft was developing it. But I mean, I was much more on board with like Final Fantasy VI, and sort of, so RPGs weren't a new thing. So it was great, but I don't count it as one of my favorites or anything like that. That being said, I haven't played it since it came out. Like, I bought it, I played through it, and I never ever played it again. Not because I didn't like it, just because It wasn't a game I went back to. So,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, that's been what, 25, 30 years? It's been almost 30 years. So, excited from that standpoint too, because it's going to be practically new at this point. I mean, I'm not going to remember anything about. I don't remember anything about it. So excited from that standpoint. Also, I think the art style really translates nicely. I
Yeah.
love the way it looks.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've never played the original, like not
Oh,
for a
really?
second.
Really?
I just was not playing RPGs, like 16-bit RPGs at all. And I mostly got my games through rental, you know, by renting back at that time. And I don't even think the place that I rented from ever carried it. So I never,
Oh, wow.
I probably would have tried it if it
Wow.
had been there.
Oh,
but
man.
I lived in a
No,
small
it
town
was-
with one place to rent games. So if they didn't
Right.
have it, you know, I didn't get to play it.
I mean, it was a major release as far as
Yeah.
my friends and I were concerned. I mean, it was, you know, Nintendo release. But the other thing that makes me really happy about that with the art style is that I love that they've sort of kept the original vibe of it, but also like the Mario RPG came out well past the point that the video game industry had been infected by what they did with Donkey Kong Country, where everything has to be pre-rendered on like pre-rendered SGI, then crushed down to a sprite.
Right.
And, you know, you can, I know Phil is not a fan of the art style of Donkey Kong Country, but you can say, for better or worse, how that looked. But God, there was such a long period of time where we were subjected to these terrible, plasticky, pre-rendered 3D models that had been crushed to 2D that just did not translate at all. Sega was one of the worst offenders. But, you know, the fact that we're sort of still getting that chibi style here, but it looks far more modern, thank God.
Oh, yeah.
It really does look like one of those cases where it now looks the way you think it looked in your brain.
Right.
Yep.
Yes.
And that was the first thing I thought when I saw it. I was like, this is impressive because it looks exactly how I remember this looking. But of course, you know, it's created completely differently, but really does nail it. And it's funny how many, you know, remasters or remakes or whatnot either veer completely different because they have to for whatever reason, technology or presentation, or stick so closely that you're just sort of like, it's kind of the same, but not. Like it's a little off. It doesn't quite feel right. And this is one of those examples where like somehow it just works. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm super excited for it. And I think that there's probably like what I just said, where I sort of got into RPGs with Final Fantasy and Dragonware. I'm sure there's a whole sort of one step behind us, like that generation, where that was probably their first RPG.
I'm hearing a lot of that online. Yeah, and forums of people just freaking out. This is like a big nostalgia thing for them.
Right. So, yeah, super awesome. I already pre-ordered it, and I don't do that. Somebody mentioned, I think it was on our Discord, mentioned how they were going to use their other voucher because they bought the vouchers.
For
to pre-order that. Yeah. And I was like, oh, right. I forgot I have that. So I immediately jumped on and used my second voucher for Mario RPG. What else stuck out to you guys? I don't want to go through the whole list of games that was in the Nintendo Direct, but was there anything else there besides those two sort of tentpole releases that you feel strongly about?
I'm always excited for a new WarioWare.
Yeah.
So
especially when you got to wiggle your butt like that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm doing it when I play games anyway.
Right.
He's doing it right now.
So get some points.
Man, why not? Why not take advantage of it?
Anybody here a Pikmin fan?
I am not. I have tried to love it, and I love it in principle, but it just doesn't connect with me.
CJ's our sort of local Pikmin fan, so
I want to like Pikmin more than I get into it.
Right.
Yeah.
I will. You know, it's the same problem I have with Splatoon, where I will get the new one, I'll play it for a few hours, and then I'll just kind of go, well, I'm done with this.
Remember, I'm not a Splatoon fan.
Yeah.
For me, the game that was very exciting was the Star Ocean 2 remake.
Yes, the 2D HD style. I'm not a Star Ocean fan, but I always love how that style looks, no matter what game it is.
Yeah, and I wasn't expecting it because they had a re-release of Star Ocean 1 It's the R series, I guess, as they call it, on the Switch and the other platforms, which I played a bit of. And that was a much more, I guess, accurate, like faithful to the original version, much less high spec than this looks like. So they had mentioned that they were doing 1 and 2 before, and I was expecting number 2 to be essentially the same thing. It's sort of like upscale and prettied up version of the original game with some other UI aspects. So when they showed this, I was super excited because it's like, oh no, this is like a full re-release. They've built it from the ground up. And so for me, Nancy's the one who got into Star Ocean 2, and she played the crap out of it. That was the first time I realized she was hardcore into JRPGs, like when it first came out. And I think that game has like an Iron Chef mini game. Part of one of the big things is that you have to learn cooking, where she was doing all of the sort of side quests on, and then you go to that was when Iron Chef was popular, and they had built in an entire like Iron Chef tournament that you have to do. And I just watched her being like, wait a minute, is this Iron Chef? And and she was telling me about all the relationship angles and how many characters you can meet, and I kind of just watched her play for weeks and weeks and weeks. And she was, when the first one came out, first Star Ocean remake, re-release came out, she said, well, like, wake me up when they announced number 2, because that's the one I want to play. So when this came out, I was like, you have to come see. And so I'm hoping she gets it. Well, I'll make sure she gets it. I'm hoping she'll play it and let me watch her play it, so I can see all of her old school skills, because she put like so much time into that. And it was really fun to see.
So you're saying the next Bansico game is going to be an extra year delayed?
That's right. Yeah, we're taking 3 months off for Star Ocean 2. When does that come out, by the way? That's a fall release too, isn't it?
I don't remember, but I have it here in front of me somewhere. It just says announced for 2023. November 23.
Okay.
Yep.
November 3rd.
That's a big slot then. Like, that's a major time to be releasing.
Yeah.
Time.
I will say that, and I don't remember if it was confirmed before this, but watching the Direct was the first time that I saw it. The Metal Gear Solid Master Collection.
Yes.
Really happy with what they're doing with that. I remember when they first, I forget which company, which Direct it was where they first showed that, but I made sort of an offhanded comment about how, oh man, they should really put in like the digital novels that came out on the PSP.
Right.
And then they went through, and this Master Collection includes both of them.
Yeah.
I was very surprised at that.
Yeah, as well as, and I mean, maybe it's because Kojima doesn't have a say at this point, but as well as the NES version of Metal Gear. And which is different enough. Yeah. And Snake's Revenge, which Snake's Revenge is terrible. And I've defended that game in the past, but I tried to play that recently on stream. I think, Ben, you probably watched it.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's got a kicking soundtrack, but it's not a good game. But like even, I love the completion, like the sort of the completion angle of it. Like, so you're getting Metal Gear Solids 1 through 3. Yeah. Getting the 2 MSX games, which Solid Snake, both of them are good, but Solid Snake is really good. The NES game that's where I fell in love with the Metal Gear series, but it's different enough from the MSX game that it's worth checking out. And yeah, Snake's Revenge is what it is, but I'm really glad that it's there. So really, I was super excited to see all that. I don't know if I'll run out and purchase it day one or anything like that, but still, and obviously there's supposed to be a volume 2. Excuse me, I assume that will include Solid 4 and
I wonder.
And
5. I mean,
MGS4
has been trapped on the PS3 ever since. Yeah, the acid games have never been.
I would hope at the very least that we'll also get, like, that one will include the PSP games, because there's like acid.
Yeah, because Portable Ops has been re-released in the HD collection before, so there's no reason to hold that back.
Oh, this doesn't have
Ghost
VR missions.
No, it doesn't. Maybe that would be cool too. So I mean, there's still a fair chunk left that's not in here. So I'm hoping that the fact that they're including obscure stuff that you didn't expect to see, like the digital novels and Snake's Revenge in the first one, means that we'll see all those PSP games, maybe virtual, the VR missions. Ghost Babel, I really would love to see, because that's a fantastic little game.
Yeah, it is.
Game Boy Color Metal Gear game. So really excited about that too.
The one thing I noticed, like, Phil, because I know you buy a lot of physical collections of this stuff too, is that I'm not sure if it's confirmed, but it seems like the physical version is, like, they confirmed that there would be one, but it doesn't seem like it's complete on cart.
I doubt it would all be complete.
Yeah, that would surprise me.
It's pretty standard.
And I think, I'm not sure if most people know this, but I think cart prices have gone up a lot, like production cart prices.
Oh, really?
For Nintendo for Switch. Like that's what I've been reading about, and they're not cheap to produce anyway. So I think a lot, like it's unfortunate as we're getting towards the end of the Switch life cycle, and like cool stuff like this is going to come out, and it may not be as collected as you would like it to be.
Right.
Because a lot of publishers are not going to want to pay for a larger cart size to produce the number of copies that they're going to produce. But if that comes out on physical on other systems, specifically PlayStation, I'm curious if that will be complete.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that Blu-ray's got lots of room.
Yeah.
It's so cheap to make.
And those are some pretty small games overall.
Yeah.
So
really, really curious about how that goes. I'm sure as we get closer to that stuff will come out, but it'll be one of those things you're like, oh no, if it's like a great package and half of it's download, that's going to be a major bummer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A couple of other quick things that I wanted to call out too. Vampire Survivors coming to Switch, which was a fantastic game, and it's got couch co-op, which I'm excited about.
Again, the kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you tell them what their schedules are?
Mm-hmm.
They tell me what my schedule is. And the remake of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon.
Yeah.
That was a huge surprise to me.
Yeah. I will purchase that for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys what you guys think about this, but the first thing I thought when I saw that was, oh, so there's a chance of more 3DS games coming to Switch then. Because there's a bunch of stuff still trapped on Switch.
That would be nice.
Sorry, on 3DS. Including like the Ocarina remake that's really good and a bunch of other stuff. And as soon as I saw Luigi's Mansion, I was just thinking of man, if they just need to fill out some slots in the next 18 months, I could think of a bunch of stuff that I'd love to see.
Well, that's just it. Like the 3DS and the DS, and to a lesser extent the Vita and the PSP. Yeah, like you've got to want to remake those games. Like it can't be simple to port them, even if the tech was somewhat similar, just because of the touchscreen element or the dual screen element, right? So, yeah, I was really excited to see that's coming because of exactly what you said. I mean, if I want to play that again, I gotta bust out the DS or the 3DS.
Yeah,
and it'd be great just to have it. Plus, I just love Luigi's Mansion. I really hope that this is a lead off into another Luigi's Mansion, or maybe that'll be something that we see on their next console. But I just adore that series.
Yeah.
And obviously we got a teaser. Oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna say if they also bring over the 3DS port, the original Luigi's Mansion, that means you can have the whole trilogy on Switch.
On Switch, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's true because the first
bugging somebody that they're gonna have
tooth at this point. Yeah.
Well, and they
haven't released it.
Nintendo's, I think, specifically kind of promoted that with Pikmin, where they're like, "Oh, hey, we're shadow dropping Pikmin 1 and 2, and
right.
Now the Switch is your one-stop shop for all your Pikmin related fun."
Mm-hmm.
So,
I would totally love to. Not that it needs it, but man, I would totally replay Luigi's Mansion with shiny new coat of paint on it. Nice wide screen too.
Yep.
Couple more quick things. We got a teaser there for something to do with the Princess Peach game.
Very excited about that.
Right. Yeah.
Which is not the first time she's gotten her own game, but still super exciting.
Right, this would be the second time, right? Because the
first
one was the DS on the DS.
Yep, Princess Peach for the DS, which was a lot of fun.
And this one's not just her crying all the time.
Right.
That's not the main mechanic. It's her sobbing in a corner.
It's got an almost Paper Mario vibe to it with all the sort of like stage sets and things like that looks like what the backgrounds are. So
yeah, it looks quite cool. I'm very excited. I was wondering when they announced it direct, I was like, what are they possibly going to be releasing over the next little while? Like, I think it'd be, and then
everything.
I don't know. If it's sort of like, if we're in like the last year, it's looking to be a pretty good year so far.
Oh yeah, and of course the most important game that we got to see a little bit more of Sonic Superstars.
Yes.
So, which I'm excited about there as well. Although, it's funny. Every time I see a Sonic game that includes other characters, I'm always struck by the fact that they can all run as fast as Sonic.
I thought that was the point of Sonic, is that he was the fastest one.
Right. Isn't that the point?
Is Sonic the Hedgehog among the fastest things alive?
Right.
Yeah.
Sure
Talk
that
amongst
my
yourselves.
cat
I got a
doesn't-
dad for a second.
It's fine. I almost had the cat dad for a second. But,
Oh my goodness.
Take care of it.
You guys got to keep your children and animals in line. My goodness.
That's right. That's right. We don't all have fancy remote controls like you do, Phil.
That's true. Boom. Right there.
Set phasers to oscillate. Yeah. Anyway, and then that actually dovetails into something else that was announced later this week. Was it announced or was it leaked, Phil? Lego Sonic.
No, that was an official release. That was officially announced.
So I mean, Lego Sonic's coming to Sonic All Stars.
Yeah.
Not All Star. Yeah, Superstars. Sorry,
Superstars. Yes.
So is Superstars an internally developed Sega game, or is that like a Christian Whitehead?
It's not Christian Whitehead
because he announced, or his studio announced that other game,
right.
The name of which I forget their original title.
Right. But I want to say that either he or him or his group or somebody else who was involved in Sonic. Oh my god! Total brain freeze.
Mania.
Mania. Thank you. Sonic Mania said that this feels pretty much like that game when the way it's played. Like the physics and everything, which is one of the things that's made me happy about it. And there's one other game that we wanted to call out here. Phil, I assume you added this. The Goemon like game.
Oh, you are talking about the game that was shown during the Japanese Nintendo Direct. You are talking about
Katsugeki Mameda no Bakeru.
Oroku Saitoru no Sainan.
Yeah.
That's
What's that
what he
translate
said.
to?
That translates to this game looks like Goemon. Because it is made by
a little on the nose, but
it's made by some people who worked on the Goemon series.
Okay. That's interesting.
And it looks. Did you see the trailer
Victor
for
Island?
this?
So Victor Island? No, I didn't see this trailer. I'm watching it in the background right now.
You should watch this trailer because
it looks just like Goemon.
Well, you should hear the music because it sounds just like Goemon too. It is 1000% Goemon with the serial numbers filed off.
That's amazing.
And
Goemon.
I hope that it comes out here. I'm a little worried that it was not shown during our direct, but in the Japan one. But who knows?
Is the I assume the main character's name is Kid Yang?
Yes.
Okay.
And Dr. Yang, his faithful sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Apparently the main character is a tanuki. Going back.
Not an elephant?
Yes. The same. The shape-shifting trickster. And you fight with taiko drumsticks, so.
Oh man, this game is just made for you.
Right? So.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Phil, do you have a Japanese Switch account?
I absolutely do, yes.
Yeah. So either way, you get in this game.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm assuming there'll be a physical release over in Japan, so if...
Right.
Ooh. I wonder if there'll be an Asia release. Because those always... Well, yeah, usually will have English.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting the game. It's just a matter of how much am I going to be able to understand it. So...
All right.
Hopefully we get a domestic release here. If not, yes, I will definitely be importing it. But I can't wait.
That's great. I always forget that sometimes there are regionally specific games that they announce.
I know, right?
Yeah, it never even occurs to me to go see what was on like the Japanese Direct or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Cool. Very cool stuff. Anyway, the Nintendo Direct, very exciting. Man, this is going to be a crazy year for games. I know we say that like every week, but it's true. Every
this
week.
year, even so far, has been nuts.
Yeah. There's just so much good stuff happening. I mean, you know, we're to the point now where all three of the Switch is even more so, but all three of the consoles have kind of matured to the point that the really good stuff is happening. So
you
love to see
finally
it.
out of the awkward teenage years.
Yeah, pretty much. So let's move on to what you've been playing. We're going to start with our guest because that's only the polite thing to do.
Very much so.
Benjamin, what have you been playing this week? Well, in general.
Well, I've been playing a bit of Zelda. I have been having a hard time finding time for games recently, so I kind of just been sneaking in.
Well, you got to finish that
of course,
game.
Streaming. Yeah, I want to. It's going to take a lot. Breath of the Wild took me like 2 years to finish when I finally made the time to do it. I don't know. At the like 5 hours per week I have to play games, it's going to take me a while to get through Zelda. But I am enjoying it quite a bit, and I actually want to thank you guys because I had done almost the exact same thing that you talked about in a previous podcast, where I didn't listen to the explicit comments by some of the characters to be like, "Hey, just go northeast. You should probably just go northeast." And had gone in a different direction and had done some stuff and was getting a little stuck and realized, kind of feel like this is getting weird and tough, and I don't really know what I'm doing. So I went back to, I always forget the name is The Landing. What's called
I can never remember the first word.
Yeah,
I know it's something
that place.
Yeah.
And confirmed the text you guys were talking about. Said, "Oh yeah, they really just told me to go to this next area next." I said, "You know what? Critical path in this whole thing. I'm going to listen to every word and not stray off."
I mean, it doesn't stay that way for long. But it just, to me, it seemed very clear going back. It's like they really wanted me to go this way because the shrines more than anything else. The shrines are like all, this is combat training. This is shield training. So it's like, well, this feels like something they're going to tell me at the beginning of the game.
Right. Yeah. So they, I finished one of the temples. I finished the Wind Temple, and that, because of timing, I was playing at little spurts. It took me like a week to do that because I only had like a little bit of time here and there. And I remember after I finished that, I said to Nancy, I said, like, this week has felt like the most intense gaming experience I've had in like decades. And like, if the game just ended now, I'd be happy because that was awesome. I had such a good time, and it felt like such a big thing to do, but in a very fun, like, and naturally intuitive way. So I said, if the rest of the game is like this, I'm going to be having a lot of fun. And so for me, I didn't like Breath of the Wild all that much. I finished it, but it was sort of like I had to look stuff up. I was really stuck on a lot of things. A lot of things just didn't click with me. I wanted to love it, but I was sort of in and out on it. But Tears of the Kingdom clicked with me immediately. And a lot of it is that it's brought back the sort of goofy Zelda charm stuff that I love. Like, characters were all kind of like silly, like Skyward Sword characters, and there's a lot more narrative hooks to just kind of keep you going that are all very much based on the sort of people and the environment. You guys have talked about all of this, but that's the kind of carrot that keeps me going, is when there's like a bunch of these dumb jokes and characters spurring you along, as opposed to like just the objective nature of, hey, go do stuff. It's cool. When a character has like a fun thing for me to do for them, I'm a lot more likely to put in some extra time and do so.
One of the things that I found was not detrimental to sort of critical pathing it, but I was sort of trying to get all the towers organically as I was moving around Hyrule, and I did that. Like, I ended up getting them all, but I shouldn't say organically, but it wasn't just when I came across them. Like, I saw it in the distance and it looked kind of like I can get there now. I'd sort of make a beeline for it. And because I wanted to get the map uncovered. But like, as far as the quests and everything that I was doing, I wanted to do all the temples. I want to do the 4. Like, I got to the point where I want to do the 4, whatever they're called, the regional weather
disturbances,
which I did. And so I feel like I don't know if that's triggered the beginning of the end game. I have no idea. All I know is the thing that is triggered, I don't want to start because I want to go finish other things. So it's like, well, I got a few of these side quests to clean up, so I'm just gonna do that. And like, every time I go to do a side quest, I talk to somebody else, and I've got like 3 more side quests. Like, it's just never ending. And what I've realized is that because of the way that I sort of went to complete those towers, I missed so much. Like, there was a quest I'm doing right now. I'm doing the Great Fairy quests, which I don't even know if you've begun, but there's a lot of they're basically 4 fetch quests, and they're linked to the stables. And so I'm trying to get the 3rd Great Fairy to come out of her flower, and it's like, well, we need the flautist to this band, and he was last seen at this stable right? So that's right. And I'm looking on my map. It's like, I haven't been to that stable.
Right.
And so it was down south. So I headed south and I found a stable, and it's like, well, no one's talking about this guy. And I couldn't find on my quest list, like, what am I supposed to do? And then I realized, oh wait, this is the wrong stable. This is one of another stables I never got to, because I would been skipping the roads and everything like that. So
yeah,
that's part of the thing that I'm doing now is just jumping on horseback and just riding around all the actual roads in Hyrule, because there's so much to discover just riding, and especially where your horse will follow the road. You can just swing the camera around and you can see something interesting. It's like, whoa, and then you just go do that. And
there's a lot that I'm finding really interesting about it, like design wise, that makes me happy, where you can tell, like, they really, and I think you guys have said this in the show before, where they really want you to be able to stand at any point and look around and see something.
3 things you can do, basically.
That excites you to go try some stuff. And whereas I find a lot of open world games exhausting, and I don't want to play them for the most, because like everything between A and B is just stuff I probably don't want to do. And then, it's the destination may or may not be sort of a fun reward.
Right. And it's funny because CJ was on, and I forget the name of the podcast he was on this past week, but he was interviewed on another podcast, and I was listening to it. And he said this before on our show, but he was reiterating it there, and I totally agree with him, where a lot of open world games, you'll just they just love to put, like, you'll open up part of the map and there's just a ton of icons on the map, and and like the way he put it is, like, almost none of them are compelling. It's just stuff to do. It's checklist. And when he was saying it, I remember him saying it on this show, I think back when Breath of the Wild came out, actually. And thinking, like, and like, I know for me personally, that was what turned me off with the Forza Horizon series, because I was absolutely in love with it for the first 3 iterations, and then I got to 4, and that was exactly what they started doing. Whereas this is like, there are a lot of icons on the map, but you don't just uncover them, and it's all discovery, it's all exploration, and it works.
I liken this to for me playing Skyrim, because Skyrim is sort of like the only other major open world game that I love and put a ton of time into.
Right.
And it was purely because that finding stuff felt just as rewarding as doing anything else. And it was Breath of the Wild, or sorry, Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild do the same thing, where it's about, like, popping up that thing, like, you discovered whatever stable and whatnot, and then you see a thing on your map. And other people have said it, where most open world games, especially Western ones, are about, like, jumping icons on your map and then saying, well, go have fun and check all this stuff out. And then you're often just overwhelmed or turned off and you don't want to do it. Whereas this is always like everything that's open on a map you have gone to, and you are slowly putting those icons in, whether it's like actually putting a pin in, which is like part of the same sort of design loop, or uncovering a thing that now is filling out the map. So the same thing was with Skyrim. When you would see a Skyrim, or like when I would see someone else who was playing Skyrim, and I would see icons on their map that I didn't recognize, I'd be like, what the hell is that? And it's like, well, I found this keep or this other thing. I'd be like, where's that? I didn't even know you could get there. And that really encouraged that sense of, like, natural exploration. Like, well, I'm going to go to the nearest point, hike up there and see what happens. And I feel the same way for this. And I think, like you say, Greg, the fun part is sometimes if you just don't feel like doing something, I
just go by it. I have so many lost Koroks that I haven't returned to their friends because if I don't happen to, a lot of times, like, I don't put the towing harness on my horse, because I just hate having to run around and have that thing drag. I just
got that, and I was super excited that was a thing. I was like, this is genius.
Oh, it's great, but I don't normally have it on there, so half the time I meet one of those little lost Koroks. I'm like, I am not dragging your ass all the way over to that smoke signal, and, like, I can't make a wagon because I don't have a harness to tow it anyway. So you are on your own. I hope you roll there, because, and honestly, I've gotten to the point where, and I think it's because the items aren't breaking as easily anymore. I don't feel like I need a whole lot more inventory slots for my shields, bows, and weapons. So I don't really care as much.
Let them sit there.
Yeah, they're fine. What's going to happen to them?
Apparently a lot of horrible things if you look at YouTube.
Fair. And I've still got a ton of the depths to explore, and a bunch of the archipelagos up in the sky world to explore too. So, and I was having dinner with a friend of mine last night who's chomping at the bit to play this because he doesn't own a Switch. So he's waiting for me or CJ's best friend Mike to finish our copies so that he can borrow one of our Switches and play. And I'm saying, like, I don't like putting hundreds of hours into a game because I want to finish the game and move on. And I feel like if I really wanted to, I could go finish this game right now. But I was saying to him when we were reading last night, when we were chatting about it, I'm like, I don't want to. I'm compelled by what I have yet to discover to keep playing. And I checked the clock, and I've played over 100 hours already.
Right.
And I'm like, that for me is normally like, okay, time to go finish it. And I just don't want to. But it's not because I feel a sense of obligation to see what's out there. I'm really legitimately interested to see what else is in the game.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic. It's just so good.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. For me, it's such a big turnaround from the first one that I'm happy that I'm so digging it so much.
Yeah. So that was a lot of time on Zelda. What else you been playing?
So a couple. Nancy and I recently bought the physical collection of the Pixel remasters, the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. And so we can both play it on our Switches and whatnot. And I have only ever finished number 4 of the originals.
Really?
Yeah. Never been a fan of 6. I know people always get mad at me when I say that. I've tried 3 times. I get to the same spot, and I just ouch. But I love 4 to death, and of course I've seen you play. Talk about Final Fantasy 1 and other ones a lot. So I started playing FF1 as soon as I got it, just to check out and like put on boosts, changes some settings. And it's funny, pre Zelda I was actually playing Strangers of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin.
Ooh, yeah,
it's so ridiculous. I love it.
That's something.
So it's kind of fun to drop in and kind of see like what that's all about. And what I love about it, I mean, I love all the boosts that just sort of make things easier and faster and all that. But what I love is how streamlined the original game is, but it's a lot more in depth than I thought it was in terms of like finding little characters that send you off on little quests. Like Matoya wants his glass eye or whatever that is, and I always thought the first because when I first tried to play Final Fantasy back in the day, to me it was just inscrutable. I had no idea what I was doing. It was hard, and I was so confused. It was like a rental. I don't even think I had a proper manual.
I was gonna say to me that says that you clearly rented it, because it came with, as was the case with a lot of RPGs way back. It came with like, oh, by the way, here's a poster or manual that'll get you through the first half of the game.
Yeah, and I didn't have that, so I was always in love with the aesthetic and sort of how it worked, and just had no idea what to do with it. So for me, it feels like if I can get this, it'll be like just getting a 30-year-old backlog, item checked off that I'm very excited for. But I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, like 100% like it. I thought I was going to think, the Pixel remasters will be kind of lukewarm on it, but I guess because the quality of life stuff and just how fun it is to play portable, I can see myself going through like all of them at some point. Yeah. Maybe I'll even finally finish 6. We'll see.
Yeah, I think, and having them all like that, with the quality of life improvements, and I mean it's along the same lines as like Phantasy Star, playing through the Sega Ages version of Phantasy Star, where it's like, I want to experience this, but I don't want to experience it the way we did in 1988 or 1989, because I don't really want to spend that time. I get why those games were so difficult. It was about quantity, making sure the game lasted so long. But to me, having them all in one spot and having them really easy to play through, because I'm about halfway through Final Fantasy 2 at this point, and I've put it on hold because of Tears of the Kingdom, but it's very interesting to see how the series progressed, because the first one is narrative based, but it's very light. Whereas the second one, you're already seeing like they're playing with the idea of swapping out characters based on the story needs and that sort of thing, and messing with different magic systems. Like it's really cool to see what they did with it.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm very excited that it exists, and I'm glad that it does make the experience as smooth as it does, because it now feels like just instantly more accessible for
Right.
someone like me, for sure.
Cool. What else you got?
Well, I guess the last thing I'll talk about, because I think looks like you guys are going to talk about something I had on my list anyway. But I've been playing some on stream. I've been playing some of the NSO like GBA games, just stuff I had never touched before. And one of them was playing through WarioWare Inc.
You'd never played it before?
No.
What?
Like maybe at a
I'm
friend's
jealous.
or something. But...
Wow.
I'm jealous to get to experience that for the first time again.
Mm-hmm. So we played through the whole thing, like the quote unquote story mode, and it was great. Also, another joke you can remind me to talk about in a year about why it's stupid
we'll
that I
do.
haven't played that game yet. But wow, it's fun. But I think my favorite thing is all the little design things. Like I forget which section it is, but the one where you're in a taxi and the song that's playing in the background, which is of just like music clips that they're playing through the GBA, is all timed to a tempo, which is based on your performance. So as you do well, maintain the normal speed. As you lose lives, it's knocking down the speed by a certain degree, and therefore the music is getting slower and choppier. And it just is all about how everything on screen is reinforcing whatever core idea it is that you're doing. And it's like a brilliant example of just taking something so small and simple, laser focusing on it, and like every layer just makes it better and better. And I love all the little stories with the different characters that are all told through like nonverbal cutscenes, like the Ninja Girl sisters, and like that each of the stages are all themed after all those little things, but essentially you're all doing something new. And the fun thing is like you're essentially doing the same thing for the course of whatever couple hours it takes you to beat the game.
Yeah, it's about 2 hours.
Because they're breaking it down by breaking it down by character, and then they're retheming everything, and that includes like UI, how certain cues work, but like the systems are all the same. Everything feels super fresh, and it's actually fun to realize like, oh, what's this level's version of a life counter look like? Like it's fuzzy dice, or it's people in a corner or whatever, and all that kind of stuff just adds a lot to it. And it's magical. It's so good. I love it.
I hadn't played it for a long time, and I actually played it on stream this week as well. Just because I was playing Tetris on Thursday, and I played, the original Game Boy Tetris, which is still my favorite version of that game, purely for nostalgia reasons. But I didn't throw my copy out like Phil did. But we were jumping on to different NSO games, and we ended up playing WarioWare. And yeah, like I remember that game being beautiful. And it's funny, the level you were talking about when you're in the cab, I remember being so astounded by that because it just looked so good. Because like you're saying, like the tempo and everything, but also like the wipers going back and forth, and the what's behind the wipers getting blurry and wavy and everything. Like, it's really really nice. And it struck me in sort of that moment that there's so much good about that game. The micro games are great. They're supremely scalable, which is brilliant. But yeah, everything has a flow to it. Like nothing is jarring in that game. Everything moves. The whole thing moves to a beat and a tempo of some sort that it's almost not discernible at first. But after a while, you realize like there's a rhythm here that I'm following, and the game's just so much better for it. Even little things like you were saying with the UI changing, like you're talking about the Ninja Sisters level, and like normally when you're going through and you play like a few micro games, and then it says like speed up or whatever, and everybody else's screen it says speed up, but on her level I think it's katakana that goes across the screen, or it's like
in Japanese, and they just
so they just went with it. And I was like, that's fantastic. The whole thing is so good. I like the WarioWare games. I said this that night that I was playing it, though. None of them, in my opinion, none of the subsequent ones have ever quite captured the magic of the first one. And that probably has everything to do with the fact that it was the first one and it was unexpected. But
I think Twisted is the one that came the closest.
Somebody in the chat that night said the same thing.
Yeah, Twisted is really good.
Yeah. That's another one that's kind of stranded on a system that... Is that the one that has the motion
it had the little gyro
in the Game Boy, right? Or the Game Boy cartridge. Yeah.
But you know what?
They did
They could do it though.
Yeah,
tilt and tumble, right? They can do it.
Yeah. No, they could absolutely do it.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. All right.
Maybe one day.
So Ben, you got one more game that you're going to wait until it's Phil's what you've been playing. I think.
I'll just talk about it now.
We can just talk about it now. Why not? People are gonna disconnect once it's Phil's turn. So let's
exactly.
What else you got?
Well, I played the FF16 demo last week. And I think it looks like Phil, you've been playing like the full game. Is that right?
I just barely started it. That's why I'm saying you start talking about it now, because the amount I have played past the demo is almost inconsequential.
So it's funny, you guys were talking about it last week, and you had opinions and you had noticed things that I did not experience. And I'm like, I think I may have missed the point of this game, because I went into it going, okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to like this, because so far everything they're signaling is not necessarily up my alley. But of course, it's a Final Fantasy game, it's a demo. Of course, I'm going to try it. And we played it on stream, and I was kind of like crushed by the end of the 2 hours. Like, just like, oh man, super disappointed. That being said, this has happened many times with other Final Fantasy games, and there's a 97% chance that at some point I'll just try it again later and it'll click for some reason. But at the time, I was like, oh man, this is not what I want out of this at all. But I was curious about what you guys thought about, or like, Phil, what you thought past the demo, because my issue with the demo was I was like, okay, I don't like the Game of Thrones angle, like the dark, very like serious thing. Was not kind of my jam. Granted, I'm the one who like loves all the stupid, goofy Final Fantasies. But that aside, I found there was almost like no gameplay in the demo. Like, I was like, the battles was very limited, and I didn't feel like anything happened.
That's fair.
And I was just like, okay, like, I want to know what this game has to offer, and I'm not actually seeing that. What I'm seeing is mostly like story. And Greg, you had talked about how they had sort of done the tutorialization, which I thought was like, holy crap, please let me hit a skip button. Like, I don't want to do this. But I'm wondering if there's like, what else is there in terms of gameplay that is maybe not well represented by that demo? Because I felt like a very cinematic heavy, like, we want you to get excited for this, and like the sort of quality of it and the fidelity of it. But in terms of like a gameplay point of view, I felt like I experienced basically nothing. And I was like, I'm not really sure. Is the game just walking while dudes talk, and then we get into like a couple battles in circular rooms? Is that it? Or is there sort of, more going on?
Yeah. From that like 2 hour demo, there's maybe 10 minutes of actual gameplay. And this is the thing. Like I said, I've just barely started the main game. And I don't know how long I've played it, maybe half hour, maybe 45 minutes. But in that stretch of time, there was maybe 5 minutes of gameplay. It is very much just kind of watching a long cinema sequence. I mean, so far, this may change,
right?
But it's just been you're watching a long cinema movie. It will get to a point where you can start walking, and you walk, and then it cuts to another long cinematic, and then a bunch of dudes show up, and then you get to fight, and the fighting is fun, and I really like the fighting, and that's what sold me on buying the game. Was I did actually really dig the combat, the kind of character action style combat, but you plow through that. And admittedly, I'm playing it on the story mode.
I was just going to ask.
Yeah, so the combat is very easy, because that's
goddamn right it is.
Yeah. Which good. That's what I need. Because quite frankly, if I cranked it up and ended up dying constantly, and then I just have to, be skipping like 1,000 cinematics just to get back to the battle that I was at, I don't have time for that. Right. So, but yes, it does seem light on the gameplay, but I like the combat. I'm enjoy the bits where I'm actually playing it. hopefully there's more as it goes on. But yeah, and to your point about the story, like I didn't get into Game of Thrones.
Well, now you don't have to because you're playing it.
Right.
Yeah, well that's So like
is Sean Bean in the game? That's what I asked during the stream. I was like, I feel like he's contractually obliged.
Did somebody die in the opening cinematic?
Yeah, exactly.
If they did, that was him.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he voiced one of just like the random soldiers who
got stomped.
So yeah, I mean the story does seem a little self-serious.
It does. That's not that I don't like it, but it's that's the way I've described it. It's funny because the same friend that I was having dinner with last night, he's playing Final Fantasy 16. And he was saying, actually, I forget how many hours in he said it was, but he says the game does open up.
Okay.
But it was like, I think he said like 8 hours,
8 hours?
or something like that.
Interesting.
So that might be upwards of like an hour and 15 minutes of actual gameplay.
Right. Yeah. I don't remember exactly what he said, but yeah, he said it does open up. But I said, like, the story in the demo seems so anime to me, especially the dudes with immaculate hair standing around brooding all the time.
Right.
And he was like, well, yeah, but it's probably a lot less anime than a lot of other games with combat like this, like a Bayonetta or something like that.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, but he's really enjoying it too.
Okay.
I feel like it's a game where, and this is like not a knock on anything, but it feels very specifically targeted to a specific audience. Like it felt like Sony and Square had a meeting and they're like, we'd like to show you sales charts of some of your games. And then we'd like to show you sales charts if you do this. And Square's like, those are pretty good numbers. So they're like, yeah, if just dial all the color down. And then all hair short, British accents. They've got like the checklist, have someone try to have sex in the hallway.
There's no lip sync for the Japanese VO in this game, is there?
I think I heard that. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Really?
Oh, I don't know.
It's definitely, you're right. It's definitely aimed to a very specific audience.
Yeah. And I mean, they're probably going to do super well on it. It's just fascinating because, like, everyone says, like, what's the kind of Final Fantasy game you like? And of course, the series has spanned so many different styles and visual styles and levels of camp and all that stuff. And when I see this, I'm like, yeah, if I had a list, none of these things are on my list. I mean, they have chocobos, which is good, but it's a game I'm going to read up on, probably hear a bunch of spoilers about, and then find something where I'm like, well, that'll be cool, so I want to get to that, and then at some point play it just to see that. But I can't wait to hear more of what you think, Phil, as you get through it. And please keep it like a cutscene to gameplay ratio counter going.
I'll just have a stopwatch that I start up every time I can actually start controlling things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I do hear apparently it's like 25 or 30 hours to get through just like the main story. If you're not being all like fastidious about 100%ing it.
Sure.
So
it does seem very, very like Western audience targeted that way, right? Like character action games, cinematic, sort of that length in that range.
Yeah. So hopefully I'll actually finish it. Because if it was one of those like, it's 80 to 120 hours, and I'm not going to finish that.
Same here, unless it's Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Got anything else there, Ben, or is that everything?
No, I'll shut the hell up.
I'll just do that. Well, I mean, maybe for a little while. So for me, we already talked about WarioWare. We already talked about Tears of the Kingdom. Those are the two main things I was playing. But I did, and I know, Phil, you played this as well. I did jump on and grab the extra content for Sonic Origins.
Sonic Origins
Plus. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is does it add Amy? I think it adds Amy.
It adds Amy as a playable character.
Right.
It adds
a whole
Knuckles.
Ton of Game Gear games.
Knuckles is now playable in Sonic CD.
Yeah.
And then you have a dozen Game Gear titles.
It's a lot. I think it's all of them.
Yeah.
It's not all of them. It's pretty damn close. Which again, from a completionist standpoint, I love it. Mm-hmm. I've never really played the Game Gear games.
Well, now's
I've
your
played the
chance,
same
baby.
couple levels of the first one probably a dozen times.
Yeah.
I can't imagine playing those on the actual system back in the day. It feels like they'd be really hard to see.
Yeah.
I
But,
remember playing them on my cousin's Game Gear.
Yeah.
Definitely getting headaches. There's a lot going on. That screen was not great.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's a bunch of Sonic games that I've never really played, so that's great.
Cool.
Also included the fact that Sonic 1 on the Game Gear was the first game by Ancient, which is Yuzo Koshiro's game company.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That was the first game they developed as Ancient.
Oh.
And it was the only time they did a Sonic game.
Interesting.
Really? Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
So, yeah. So there's a little bit of info for you.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say about it, just to say that, it's cool to see them add that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy about it. For the same reason I'm excited that it feels like they're really going all in on the Metal Gear Solid collection, just to have that stuff around. Because I like having that stuff on modern systems. What about you, Phil?
I wish.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, you were talking about the Game Gear games. I would love if Game Gear games got added to NSO or something, because it's a system where there's a bunch of really cool stuff that just majority of people have never seen or played. And sometimes when I've played a couple things on stream, there are some real great hidden gems on there, and stuff that you see that has gone on to become other things later. And this is one of those things where I don't think hardly anyone has played those games, like the Game Gear Sonic games, unless you're past a certain age, because that's who the hell had a Game Gear like after a certain point in time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Phil, what else have you been playing?
Well, Rogue Legacy 2. Again.
What else have you been playing?
Rogue Legacy 2 just came out on PS5.
I was gonna say, is it a new version, or
it is a new version? The PS5 version is out now. And I did not buy it again. But only because it's on the PlayStation Plus service.
Oh, okay.
What's their?
Well, I don't know
what's
anymore.
their game? It's on PlayStation's Game Pass. Whatever it's called.
A good idea. PlayStation Game Pass.
Yeah. Right. But it's on there, so I downloaded it, and you know what? Just as I did with Dead Cells, I've been streaming the PlayStation version of Dead Cells. I started streaming me playing through starting a game from scratch in Rogue Legacy 2.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
does it have PS5 haptics, or is it just using sort of regular Rumble? Do you notice anything different?
I think it's just using the regular Rumble. I haven't noticed any bits where it's doing anything overly bonkers. So, yeah, not that I know of, but I might be wrong. It's happened once or twice.
Really?
I mean, I don't like to admit it, but the first time was when I agreed to be on this podcast.
Yeah, I think we all lost that day.
Exactly. Whoever wins, we all lose. But I've been playing that, and I love, I love the Rogue Legacy games. My goodness. And
I'm glad that game made such a turnaround for you, from early access, to final release.
Yeah, well, that's just it. This was the game that convinced me to never play early access. Because when I first played Rogue Legacy, which again was 2 years, it was in early access for a long time, and I was very excited, and I tried it for a couple hours when it first went in early access, and I was just like, oh no, one of my favorite games of all time is getting a terrible sequel.
Right.
But then I just put it aside, and when they finally were like, okay, now it's ready, and I played it, and I was like, oh, well, this is actually quite a bit better than the first game. So you gotta let that stuff cook, But yeah, so I'm playing that. The other thing I'm really playing this week, and the reason why, as Greg mentioned earlier, I was throwing out my copy of Tetris for Game Boy. And I've thrown out all my copies of Tetris. And
There's a lot of them.
This. Oh yeah, I do have several copies of Tetris on various systems. Tengen Tetris, garbage. Tetris DS, get out of here. We don't need you anymore. CJ is not on the show this week out of pure embarrassment because he's so proud of this. What is it? The Tetris Effect connected game that he's worked on, and he knows that, and it's a good game. It's a good game, but he knows that in the grand scheme of things, in the wide range of Tetris titles, it's now garbage because this exists.
Cardboard box?
A cardboard box that on one side here, as you can see, has the old golden arches, the beautiful McDonald's logo. On the other side, it's got the word Tetris.
Pineapple pie?
Oh man. McDonald's apple pies? Come on. Although, back in the day when they used to fry them, this is so much better.
Whoa.
They don't fry them anymore?
At least here in the States, they don't fry them.
I haven't had one of those in so long, I wouldn't know.
Let me tell you what's in this box. I imported this from China because this is only available.
That's weird. You don't almost get nothing from China.
I know, right? This is only available. This is a
thanks, Biden.
This is a China exclusive video game. If you open this up, and what's inside here? Well, let me tell you, it is a giant chicken nugget.
Gigantic.
Oh my god, that is.
It is a giant chicken nugget in the boot shape. Because we all know there are like I think four different.
Wait, you mean they're not randomly shaped?
No.
What?
That's weird.
Did you guys not know this?
Almost unnatural. No, I'm just kidding. It's almost unnatural.
No, I didn't know this.
Ben didn't actually know it, but
yeah,
I eat way too many chicken nuggets not to know this.
You have the round ones. You have
conspiracy.
Kind of elongated ones. I think they refer to as bone shaped. Maybe these are the boot shaped ones, which are the best. The boot shaped are the best McNuggets.
Well, because you got the little handle to dip the
built-in handle for dipping. Exactly.
Oh my god.
Greg knows.
I'm learning a lot today.
I love nugget chicken McNuggets.
Greg knows. Greg, what's the best chicken McNugget sauce?
See, you're just gonna say the
I'm gonna say you're wrong.
Mustard one. Yeah, I don't.
It's hot
I'm not
mustard.
answering. I'm not answering.
It's hot mustard.
I will say,
yeah,
when they started releasing when they released the spicy nuggets with whatever the hot sauce was with them, I really enjoyed that.
Okay,
but
I can't speak to that because I would never eat a nugget without hot mustard sauce. Actually, that's not true. I will also eat one with just pure honey.
Pure honey's great.
You get that sweetness on. Oh, forget it. My goodness. Anyway, McDonald's chicken nugget Tetris. There we go.
Can I say it looks like a Game Boy melted into a fake vomit toy?
It looks like that Game Boy that was in Operation Desert Storm.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
So is it full Tetris? Like
it I mean
legit
online
Tetris?
Play and everything.
It is not, yeah. It's if you can see this, it is just it's just a crummy little like LCD version of Tetris. But there we go. I'm going to turn that off because it's making Tetris music noises. But yeah, it's a little cheapo.
How cheap was it?
Well, now are we talking?
No, I want total cost to you.
How cheap
was it? I just put
it
on his dad voice right there.
To get it to your door.
To get it to my door?
Yeah. Come on.
Now, in my defense,
see, I already know. You don't even have to answer now because I already know.
It was like $130.
Jesus Christ.
No,
Holy
that's actually
crap.
that's a lie. This was I bought it off eBay. It was $20.
Okay.
Which I believe the retail price is about $5, $4 or $5, with purchase of a meal, which obviously I did not get any food shipped to me from China.
Right.
But the $20 is cheaper than a plane ticket over to China, plus the cost of the meal, plus the extra $4 to purchase the device. So there we go. I got some McNugget Tetris.
So you going for a high score? Is there like a competitive online circuit for that?
Community?
I'm going to say this, and it pains me to say this. It's not a very good version of Tetris.
Jesus.
It's
what
not.
If you dipped it in some hot mustard, though?
I think I have a tub of hot mustard in my fridge right now.
I would be shocked if you didn't.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I could certainly do it.
I'm surprised you don't have a tub of it right next to your desk. You just dip your fingers into every now and then.
It wouldn't be the first time I've stuck a video game in my mouth on this show. So.
Oh boy.
Oh God.
Now, I wonder how a Switch game would taste with hot mustard.
Try it out. Find out, Phil.
Would it overpower the natural musk of the Switch cart?
I think we have a new after show idea.
Yeah, make sure you do it live.
This has no discernible taste on its own.
How's the mouth feel?
It's
for anyone who's not watching the video here, Phil is licking his.
No, this is
now he's doing more than licking. Now he's getting to know it in a biblical sense. No.
There we go.
See what happens when CJ's not on the show?
Now I'm never ever touching that thing.
If you want to play this, it's right here. It's ready to go.
But you got to reach for it.
Ugh.
Anything else, Phil?
I need to get a towel real quick and dry this off before I put it back in the box.
We need a cold shower.
Grease is going to soak right through the box there.
You always want to clean up. If you don't want to wait on the cleanup.
Cleanup aisle me.
It just gets worse.
Boy. That's what I've been playing, Greg. Okay. That's it.
Well, then I think it's time for tweets.
Oh, where is it now?
Me.
Oh, twiddly diddly dee. Oh, twiddly diddly dee. Twit, twit, and a twit, twit. We got all of our friends coming to hang out. We're gonna meet. We're gonna see things that we ain't never seen when we gather around to read our tweets. Tweet, tweet.
Next time you do that, you should turn the chair backwards and light up a cigarette.
I'm going to slow things down tonight with a tweet song.
You're listening to The Quiet Storm. Filthy ball.
He rocks in the treetop all the day long, rocking and popping and singing that song. All them little birds on Jaybird Street, oh, they love to hear that robin going. Tweet, tweet, tweet.
William Shatner.
You're gonna make me start doing that now.
No, we're not.
He
got
rocks
this from
the treat. Now that's getting a little walking in there. He rocks in the treetop. Tweedly, diddly dee. Tweet.
Greg, you gotta grab the reins, man. You just gotta
tweets. CJ can control me. You cannot.
We got this from hacker alias Jason Whitman.
Okay.
It's a two-parter.
Oh.
Although I don't know if you guys are aware of the first one. One, any interest in this new 2600 game? So Atari's releasing a new 2600 cartridge game called something stupid.
I have so much money invested in the Amico, I can't afford to buy 2600 games.
I have not heard of this.
Mr. Run and Jump.
Oh.
No.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this.
It's apparently going on sale July 31st for $60.
It will. So So this is a cartridge for
physical release, box and manual.
Okay, well that's assuming I have a working 2600. I do not.
Yeah, right. Same here.
Okay, I'm looking at.
So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that none of us are really interested in that.
I'm curious. I'm just looking up the art for it, and I was curious if it was like, is it like a single person developed game? Is it
you know what I'm going to say?
No.
Looking at the art for this, it doesn't look like a 2600 game because 2600 games had all those fantastic paintings as cover art.
Oh, you're
like
just
to the point that I have them on display downstairs. A lot of them,
right?
You know what I mean? Like that. This doesn't really fit that, but
now you're just talking about the artwork, like the cover art.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some footage of the actual game, and
looks like VVVVVV.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't look bad for a 2600 game.
Yeah,
it actually looks pretty darn nice.
Yeah.
Am I going to pay $60 for this? No. But you know what?
It came with a chicken nugget, though.
Yeah. Now, if this game was playable on a nugget, yes, absolutely, I would buy it.
Second part.
Yes.
We've become used to new Nintendo consoles every 5 to 6 years, but it looks like Nintendo is going to ride the Switch for much longer. Do you think a new console is in the works?
New console is always in the works.
That's
I mean,
I think
Nintendo
he means, is it imminent though?
What I always say to people, like from a development point of view, is think about what you think Nintendo should do, and then know that they will always do the exact opposite. So if you think that they should release a new console like this holiday, you're not getting a new console this holiday. They never do it. Like you can set your watch to it. And they have such luxury, especially right now.
Yeah.
To release what they need when they need that. They could have another accidental Animal Crossing situation, but they're like, we're just going to ride another 40 million unit sales on a game for a while, and then we'll do whatever. And I think honestly, they always have something in the works. They probably always have something on like the back burner of like, we have a 6-month window, which we could put something in production to do it and like get stuff ramped up. And I think now more than anything, like if they know what they're doing for their next console, I'm sure they are going to ride a few factors and see what makes the most sense.
Right.
So I wouldn't even, I mean, people always hear stuff ahead of time, but I would say if you haven't heard like the usual inklings, it's probably not as close as you may think. Because I mean, when the Switch came out, we were hearing stuff, insane, silly rumors. But like,
like a tablet-based console that was handheld.
Yeah, all the fake mock-up,
all that
like,
weird stuff.
Mock-ups.
Yeah.
So I feel like once those start dropping, then you can start saving your money.
Okay. Hacker alias Frunkus Baldwin. With game companies occasionally catering to gamers in their late 30s through mid 40s, ouch, with remakes, what games do you want remade and in what style?
That's cool. You guys go ahead because I got lots.
I want new Kid Nicky Radical Ninja. And you laugh, but I am dead serious. I would love a new Kid Nicky Radical Ninja game. I would love it to be 2D. And I would love it to look like the Scott Pilgrim game.
Fair.
Oh,
you know,
cool.
Yep.
Like that. What's the animator's name? Paul Robertson or something?
That's right, Paul Robertson. Yeah.
Yes. Give me a Kid Nicky Radical Ninja game in a Paul Robertson style, and I would be very happy.
My number one pick would be Super Mario Brothers 2 with to look like the original box artwork of Super Mario Brothers 2. The way they do that, like airbrushed rim lighting on the characters and all that kind of stuff. They've never
beautiful.
They've never done that, and I would just want a high def version that looks like that.
Mine's along the same lines. I think more than anything, I would love to see a modern remake of Zelda 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another great one.
Just because I think that's a game that too many people have written off because it is such a weird entry in the series, and I think it's got such great mechanics anyway. They really hold up.
Yeah,
and it would be great to see that with a modern coat of paint on it, basically.
Yeah, a new version of Zelda 2 that kind of addressed some of the issues that people have with the original.
Yeah,
would be outstanding.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, a Mario 2, because there are no issues that you'd have to fix for Mario 2, because Mario 2 is flawless. Maybe
it is to me.
I mean,
pretty damn good.
Boy, oh boy.
To me, the bigger thing too that it's such a shame that they stopped doing it, but man, the Sega Aegis series died way too fast.
Yeah.
And we really flew so close to the sun with that Phantasy Star remake.
Yeah.
Like, to get that, but for all of the mainline Phantasy Star games, I would just that would be so great.
Yeah.
I don't understand why there isn't a new collection, like a new Sega Ages collection of Phantasy Star 1 through 4.
Yeah. Yep. And we need a Skies of Arcadia remake while we're talking. Because that's another game that's on a couple of consoles that are way too old for people to play them right now. Anyway, okay, one more. Let's do one more. Okay. Hacker alias Blarcade asks, is Starfield supposedly not having a disc that big of a deal?
Apparently not according to sales trends.
Yeah, I mean,
especially on Xbox. But you're like at 75%.
Is it really that high?
Digital sales for most? Like Capcom's latest one of the earnings calls pointed it out. They're basically like most big publishers are upwards of 75% for big releases. And I think I even heard that like the FF16 I don't know if it's pre-orders or first week sales in the UK physical were like 74% lower than FF15s, and people were wondering what that meant. But then they're also like, none of those numbers included digital, which the majority of those purchases will be.
Yeah.
And I mean, Xbox, I don't know what their split is between like Series S and Series X for current generation sales, but like, especially during the pandemic, right? In the beginning of all the production woes, the Series S was the console that most people got if they got a new Xbox because it was there. And they were like, Game Pass, and that's all digital. So I would be surprised if next generation's consoles, Nintendo notwithstanding, have any physical media whatsoever. And so I don't think Starfield not having a disc matters to anybody.
Right. Well, I don't know that it doesn't matter to anybody.
Well, sorry. I mean, I don't think it makes a big of a splash to the people who are making the money, making decisions.
Right. Yeah. What about you, Phil? Do you think that this is a big deal? A major AAA release not getting a physical?
No, not at this point.
No?
I mean, weirdos like me who still buy physical, I'm fully aware that we're going away. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, and for me personally, it doesn't affect me because I don't remember the last time I bought a physical game. But it is a big deal, I think, because it's signaling something that prestigious, a AAA game like that, not getting a physical release of some sort.
Yeah,
I mean, that signals that we've hit the tipping point, right?
Yeah. Well,
we've all been saying it's coming for years, and it has been coming for years, but that is a major moment.
Well, I bought the physical disc before Final Fantasy 16.
How many hours
on the back of the box of the physical version, there's a little icon that says, "Oh, you also need 100 gigs free."
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
Yeah, I'm buying the physical game, but am I really?
Right.
Am I just buying a key that I have to put in my system to access the 100 gigs that it had to copy over to the hard drive, plus
Absolutely you are.
all the add-on patches that it had to download? So
yeah, that's the real danger, in my opinion, is that, and this isn't just the fact that physical is going away, but physical for so long now has you haven't been getting the full game,
right?
And so much of it now still depends on you having an online connection. Or I saw somebody mention this on Twitter earlier today, and I 100% agree, because it did happen to me with Gran Turismo 7.
Mm-hmm.
Huge single player component, but if you're not connected, you can't play it.
Yeah, that's always the worst.
Yeah.
Such a pain. A developer perspective on this is that the thing is, if say next gen does not have any physical component, that instantly removes a revenue source from those of us in the indie development space, because we have releases, we have like many releases, but limited run games, which is part of how we do business, right? We have game releases after the fact, or just ways to do things at launch and things like that. And if that option is removed just because whatever the console manufacturers say they don't want to worry about it, then that's like a whole cottage industry as well, and just a whole trickle down effect that affects like a lot of other people, not just like Capcom sees the revenues are like this, so they don't care, it's fine. But for the rest of us, physical editions of games are a big deal, and it's a bummer that like those decisions will get made, and not like we get to have a say in that, and it will affect a lot of other things as well. I mean, even just like the homebrew stuff or the Atari 2600 stuff we're talking about, those great art projects or other things that happen afterwards are often just not going to be there because someone can't make their own NES cartridge or whatnot, and then or even something that's more recent, like the Dreamcast homebrew stuff is a great example.
Speaking of someone who's gone totally digital at this point, I still have this fear in the back of my head that the hard drive's going to fail in one of my systems or something like that, and I'll just lose everything. So, all right, I think that's a show.
Ooh.
Okay.
And that's our show for this week. Thank you so much for listening. I don't know what CJ says here because I always tune out when he does this part. But hey, if you'd like to chat with us or with other people who listen to our show, the other wonderful people who, well, I think most of them listen to our show, I don't know, you can head over to our Discord server to talk about this episode with us and our other listeners, along with a whole bunch of other cool stuff. We got lots of cool different channels in that Discord server, let me tell you. And you can also head over to player1podcast.com because we put stuff there too. Why not? I don't know. I usually blog entries about Sega CD stuff when I get around to it. Also links to Generation 16 and other YouTube videos. I just put a new one today, actually. I'm going to plug that. It's a Let's Read of Expert Gamer number 67.
I just saw that on my feed.
Right, which was the third issue that I ever worked on, where I talk about creating Sega Rally 2 and Tomb Raider The Last Revelation guides. But I also roped in Todd Zuniga, who produced Donkey Kong 64 and the WWF WrestleMania 2000 guide in that issue, which was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to chat with Todd. I haven't chatted with him for years. He and I started there pretty close to the same time. So it was a lot of fun to chat with him. And actually, I'm going to put out in the next couple weeks, I hope, the actual raw audio of our call, because I think it was interesting. It was fun.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I'm going to hand it off to you at this point, Phil.
Oh, gosh. Okay. If you'd like to subscribe to the Player One Podcast, you can do so by visiting player1podcast.com or by loading up your favorite podcast listening app. We're also on Stitcher Radio or on Spotify. You can like us on Facebook. You can watch video archives of our show on the youtubes.com/P1 podcast, or you can watch us live most weeks on the YouTubes, the Facebooks, the Twitch.televisions, all over the dang place, except of course Twitter, because that's broken now. Tell you what, if you'd like what you've heard, and how could you, head over to patreon.com/P1 podcast. Throw a few shekels our way. Importing fast food themed video games from China is not an inexpensive endeavor, friends. And only your generous funds, ill siphoned to me, can make it possible. So
Skip it
please,
off the top.
CJ doesn't send any funds to Phil.
That's actually true. That would be a bad idea on his part.
You can probably guess why.
Because, yeah, I'd have a lot more Tetris nuggets right now, let me tell you.
Yeah, you could all have Tetris nuggets.
That's true. I did buy a second one that I'm just going to keep sealed. So
of course
I did.
Good Lord.
Of course I did.
Oh.
So I do have 2. Thank you very much. No, your Patreon funds do, of course, help support our show and keep us streaming and all this stuff. I'll tell you what, though, if you are a Patreon supporter of the $5 tier,
cheap,
you gain special access to a bonus episode we recorded every week right after this. We play games, crack wise, having fun doing all the stuff we can't do on the regular show. CJ!
He's not here.
CJ!
Still not here.
Greg?
Hi.
Do you know if we have a game? Do you know?
We do, actually.
Oh.
I'm desperately looking through my email to find out who sent it to us.
Okay.
Hang on one second.
Ben, are you going to join us for this game?
Absolutely.
Oh, good.
We got a game from Zachary Miller this week.
Oh, okay. Do we know what it is?
It's just a grab bag, he says.
Oh.
Grab bag of topics.
Oh, okay. I'm looking forward to that.
Phil's grabbed a bag in his time.
And once or twice. Once on purpose.
Not always his own.
Well, I mean, you know.
It was full of nuggets.
Look, that restaurant was very dark.
And you were very stressed out.
Poor Ethan. Oh, man.
I dropped my fork. Is this it?
Nope. Unhand me, sir.
Those aren't pillows.
How about this one? Still not it.
Phil, how did you get under the table?
I got up to go to the restroom and I got lost on the way back. Yep. I'm a small man in height.
Not girth.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, I'll tell you what.
You made it weird.
Yep. That's why you invite me.
Did I say when we record our show? We record our show typically on Sundays at 5:30 specific time. So that's when you tune in. Follow Twitter and all that crap. We'll tell you when we're doing it. And if you have a couple bucks left over, that's when you need to head over to patreon.com/Greg Seward to help support Greg's outstanding, and it is outstanding, web series about North America's favorite runner-up, the Sega Genesis.
Thank you, Phil. And if you are a donor of the supporter, I should say, of the $5 variety,
also cheap.
Thank you, Satan. You get access to the Weekly Commute, which is a series of weekly vlogs, well, usually weekly vlogs that I produce, talking about all the different projects I'm working on, going through some old stuff, like I've been going through old reviews of N64 games that I wrote back in 1997.
Oh my gosh.
Who knew there was even internet back then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just all kinds of cool stuff. So please support the show. It goes towards things like Adobe licenses and buying games to cover and stuff like that. So I really appreciate any support you can give.
Absolutely. That's it. Yes,
that's it.
That's when we end this normally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, oh gosh, this is gonna be weird because I normally I have to thank CJ first, and that kind of ramps me up into the. Well, now my look. There's a certain amount of muscle memory.
Giving me the opportunity to be on the show.
There you go.
Well,
thanks, CJ.
My tongue has a muscle memory.
We're all aware,
if you know what I mean. So I gotta.
Sounds like the name of a really weird children's book.
There we go. Gregory.
Yo.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Philip.
But of course, the bulk of my thanks is reserved for the good folks in China who were generous enough to send their
Wait,
McNugget
all of
themed.
China sent it to you?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. I reached out
to China.
I said, "Hey, friends." No, I want to thank, of course, our special guest, Mr. Ben Rivers of Bensico. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks. This was great. That was good to chat about stuff.
Go play Ben's games.
Yeah, if you want to follow me, you can do so at bancy.co. I almost forgot our URL for a second.
Wow.
You can also find me online for my comics and all the stuff that I do, my Twitch streams or whatever at benjaminrivers.com.
Yeah. Do it.
How much do I have to pay to get a Satan plug?
How much you got?
I'll give you two nuggets.
2 nuggets. Oh, that's 2 more than I have now. Oh wait, what kind of nuggets? Is this like a euphemism or something?
I'll tell you on the after show. That's what you have to subscribe to, everybody.
Oh, that's $5 cheap to get some nugget discussion.
All right.
Everybody play Ben's games. They're good. Satan approves.
Put that on the wall.
There we go.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, our wonderful listeners. You're all great. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
There we go.
How do I end this?